than that. Alright, so the live stream is live.
Sounds good.
Okay, so go ahead and select tactical engagement.
Tactical engagement.
Click,
Okay, I'm on that now.
click the little online button.
Online. Ghost Dogs game.
Hey, there you go.
Okay.
And you'll be presented
Sweet,
with
I'm in. And then to commit online, I presume?
yes please. Just say
Bingo,
okay.
bango.
Say okay to the rule set because you're basically just
Okay.
going to take the rules that I've given you, which are fairly standard. And there you go. You figured out how to slot up. That's fantastic. I don't have to explain that.
Sweet.
Okay, so first of all, we just like on last night's live stream, I need you to set up your data cartridge for Sokcho Airbase, which is the airbase we're currently taking out of. So, see the bottom right corner. There's a picture of that's the weather picture, basically, with the sun and the clouds, and then just above that, there's a box with a tape next to it. If you squint hard enough, it's a tape. Promise. Data transfer cartridge. Click the little comms button, and make sure the band is set to UHF. I would recommend you go along to channel 15 using the little arrows there, and then click the button that says Set Tower. Is that making sense so far?
So set the preset to 15 and then set that to set tower.
Yes, please. You'll see it says
And do I
Sokcho
click
Airbase.
the default bottom?
Yes, please.
Okay, and then set tower.
Yep.
Sweet.
And then hit save.
Okay.
Do remember to do that.
That's why I wasn't getting comms before, right?
Very possibly.
Yeah.
The default channel, the default channel is almost guaranteed not to be the airbase you've taken off from.
Oh, okay, got you.
So if you set it to the tower, you overwrite that setting, and if you set it as the channel 15 is the default, that means when you go into the Rampstart and load your data cartridge, your radio will be bang transferred over to you'll be on the tower frequency.
Sweet.
And you can talk to your ground control.
Okay, so right now I'm set at 15 for Sokcho Airbase.
That's good enough.
Sounds
All right.
good.
So because this is just a training mission, we don't have to worry about loadouts or fuel or anything like that. I've done all of that for us.
Okay.
All we need to do basically is take off. Now we're going to hit take off and then select the ramp start option.
Okay.
And it's going to do a huge countdown because I derped a bit with the times. But basically, as the clock counts down, it'll go to T-20.
Okay.
T-20 is where you'll be put into the game. And actually, I am going to cheat a little bit. Could you hit the cancel button there for me? And I'm going to just bring the flight. I'm just going to bring the flight time forward a bit and edit the mission slightly.
Ooh, it's turning red.
Yeah,
what does that mean?
It's complaining because I've set the takeoff time to before the other steer points. So don't worry about that. That's perfectly acceptable.
So these waypoints you've placed onto the map, this is going to be on our data cartridge that will be inputted into our system, so
That's
that the
correct.
aircraft knows that we're going that way.
Yeah, the data cartridge will take this information and run with it.
So do you have to plot the altitudes and the everything for that?
Actually, no. The AI gives me a basic bare bones flight plan as stock. You can then edit that as seen fit if you want to go into that level of depth.
No.
I very rarely do, especially when we're in campaign missions. You'll see on my channel most of the time I take the route that's been assigned to me, and unless it's absolutely batshit insane. And then, if it's like, hey, you're going to take out a SAM site, but to do that, you're going to have to fly through 4 more. No, we're going to go around those,
Yeah.
But other things like that you can change. The system itself is, when you do the real single player or the real multiplayer situation, the campaign is totally dynamic. So one thing you have to bear in mind is that you messing around with your own targets and deciding that you are or are not going to do the mission that you've been given should be taken very seriously, because if you don't do it, then if you say I'm not going to attack that surface to air missile system, I'm going to do this one, then the guys who are relying on you to kill that surface to air missile system might have a nasty surprise when they go bomb the airbase next to it.
Right.
So what the AI does is it plans the entire battlescape for both Red Force and Blue Force, and it reacts to what happens successfully or unsuccessfully on both sides.
Hmm.
So basically, you have two AI commanders taking your success or the success or failure of any packages that both you and the other AI flights have had, and turning that into a strategy.
Oh wow,
This is
that's
the
really clever.
this is the nature of a dynamic campaign. It's been around for 20 years, and it's a complete mystery to me why DCS still can't say they can't do it. But hey ho. What will happen next is, oh sorry, if you could commit again. Sorry, if you could commit and go to the ramp again, the clock timer will start counting down, and we'll only have a handful of seconds to wait for the mission to load up.
Okay.
Once we both get in the pit, I'll give you a very basic tour of the cockpit scene, so you already seem to have some familiarity with it.
Yeah, I watched your video
from last night.
Your live stream
Awesome.
about 3 times now. So.
And then I'll. There's a few things I think I might have kind of whistled through on last night's live stream. It's the problem for me is it's been such a long time since I learned to Rampstart. It's very easy for me just to assume that things are known. So if you remember me saying something in the live stream that you want to ask me about, just stop and ask during this whole thing. Please remember, there's no such thing as a dumb question, just dumb folk that don't ask questions. And I'm a very big fan of just asking any question, no matter how silly you think it may or may not be. So we're just going into the pit now, or I will be shortly. Sometimes takes a few extra minutes from what you're used to with the multiplayer, because it's got to sync us both up and all that good stuff as well. Okay, I'm in the pit. How about you? Matsimus, you there?
You hear me, bud?
Hey, yeah, I can hear you now. What's up?
It dropped out. I don't know why. As soon as I connected, it just cut me out.
Oh, did the game crash, or did you just get thrown back out of the pit, or what?
No, I think the game crashed, and then my computer kind of crashed out. I had to kind of quickly restart it. It wasn't even like me talk on Discord there, so I'm not sure what was going on. We'll try it again and see if it allows me.
Totally, no drama. Just let me... Yeah, you do that while I rerun the mission for you.
Okay. Okay, back again. Try this again. Shall I go back to Takeoff?
Have you reconnected?
Yes.
Yes, you have. I see you there. Yes, go ahead and take off to taxi. Oh,
taxi or ramp?
Sorry, ramp. Sorry. Before you do that, just please make sure your data cartridge is correctly set up again.
Oh yeah, I'll do that. Data cartridge. Comms. That would have sucked.
It's not a massive problem because I can show you how to change the channels in game if necessary. But
okay,
it's one less thing for you to have to deal with, isn't it?
That is very true.
Remember, fighter pilots are lazy. If they can get the computer to do it for them, they will.
Okay, we'll try again. Takeoff.
Takeoff.
Ramp.
To the ramp, yes. And let's see what happens this time.
Hopefully it works. So we're in South Korea now. Is that the normal area for
this is
this game, then?
This is the official map for the game, and you will commonly work out of South Korea, anywhere down south of Korea. You can technically start from Japan in some scenarios.
Oh.
And the limit of advance is, well, the upper border of the map, so the Chinese and Russian border. So you get a pretty wide, expansive area compared to DCS as well, which has to settle for the eastern half of the Black Sea. So you get a large, expansive area. Graphically speaking, it's not going to look as impressive, but given what they've done with a 20-year-old engine, I think it's pretty miraculous, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And here we go. Did you stay in this time?
Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you. You have
that's a good start. You're still
loading.
Still on the beautiful picture screen showing the Pratt & Whitney engine.
Oh yeah.
It's still loading very slowly, but we're getting there. And funnily enough, I work for Pratt & Whitney, so that's why I'm further ties to the F-16.
I can't remember if it's Pratt & Whitney or General Electric that does most of the engines now, because I remember most of
the engines nowadays are done by GE.
Yeah.
But we have quite a few still in place. The F-35 is powered by PW.
Ah, right, okay.
But we all know about the F-35.
No. We are not causing a political debate on my channel. Your ones are bad enough. I see that you're in the game. Can
you still hear me?
I can,
okay,
yes.
Good. So,
and you are in 3D, right?
How do I... Right now I'm looking straight down at my jet. I don't know why.
Okay, press the number 3 key on your...
There we go.
Yeah, that should reset the view. If you want to look around, do you have track IR or do you just...
No, I'm just using my mouse right now.
That's
been working fine.
That's fine,
yeah.
As long as you're happy with that. So, we have a cold, dead F-16, and this is a problem for fighter pilots. So, we're going to fix that. First of all, let's get battery power turned on, and the main power. You know where that is, right?
Yes.
Okay,
so
great.
So main power to all the way up.
Yep, electricity to main power.
Okay.
And let's go ahead and put fuel in the pump. So engine feed to normal.
Done.
Okay, and then right click on the start to jet fuel starter position.
Roger that.
Now
she's spooling up.
You being a Pratt & Whitney boffin, you won't need what the jet fuel starter is explained to you, so that's fine. Yep. You'll know it does have a finite amount of time, of course. So so you know where the RPM gauge is. Watch for that to tickle over to about 12% or so, and then press the idle detent switch, which is a button in the cockpit, or you can just press Alt and I on your keyboard. Push the throttle forward a crack. Halfway through is fine. And press it again. And then push it all the way forward. And we should hopefully have it spooling up.
Okay, she's spooling up at about 30 now.
Excellent.
So when she gets to 70, I want to pull back down on my throttle, bring her back
Once
down
you see that it's pulling up past 40, I would just pull the throttle aft, because otherwise what's going to happen is you're going to go into full reheat on the chocks.
Okay, roger that. Okay, so when she hits 70, she's set to idle. That's the jet engine's idle percentage then, is 70%?
Yep, somewhere about there.
Okay, she's coming up to 60 now. So I'm presuming that when all my dials and gauges start kind of firing up, that's when I'm starting to get master power running from the engine?
That's right. At this point in time, the engine's providing power, and we've gone from battery to main power automatically.
Roger that.
You
so
don't...
that switch should have No, that's still
Nope, it'll hold its position. You do not want to pull that switch, because that then basically disconnects the inverter, which would be a bad thing for you.
Yes, it will.
But you'll see some lights next to the electrical system, and they'll go out.
Okay.
Next thing, it's a good idea because it's getting rather loud out there to close the canopy down, so you can go ahead and do that. And you can get perfect peace for a few seconds.
Needs a bit of a spit polish, but it's fine. Okay.
Next, we will want to turn on the inertial navigation system because it takes forever in the day to start up. So that's just down on the right side there, under INS. We'll set that to the normal position.
Done, and then flick on all the switches on that panel.
Yep.
On the 4 on the top and the 2 on the bottom.
Yeah, I would. So that's your major mode computer, your station, your hardpoint station power, your MFDs, your upfront controller, which is like the keyboard entry for the F-16, your GPS, and your DL is your data link, which we won't really be using too much in here, but it's a good idea to be in the habit of turning all this on.
You're looking beautiful over there with the engine spooling up with a nice heat blast coming out the back.
I know, right?
So when you look around to your left, do I see you look around to your left?
Well, if you look out to your front...
I'm looking at you right now. Look to your right. That's so cool. That is so cool.
Oh, it is.
I love it.
It is. That's something that they recently added in the 4.33. Beforehand, it was just generic movement.
That is sick. I love it. That's awesome. Okay, sorry. Anyway, so
next thing we need to do...
radars going.
Yep. We're not going to turn on the radars just yet because we need to give the radar air. It requires cooling. So if you notice on your right hand, there's that right armrest.
Yep, got it.
Right, just behind that, just click it, left click once, and that sets the air source to normal. The FCR is air cooled, and it takes air from the intake and passes it up to the fire control radar to keep it nice and cool and stop it from overheating and causing damage to the circuits.
Okay.
We're going to then want to turn on the radios. So just next to the throttle there, you're going to set the top radio to main, and we're going to turn the volume up on COM1 and COM2. You'll know it's worked because you'll actually have some numbers at the top on the top readout. We're not going to play with that. This is the backup radio. Okay. So
Roger. So the indicators that show the green digits along with the switches indicating to each digit is a backup radio.
Yeah, you've got I'll say 225000.
Roger.
That's the that's actually the UHF frequency, 225.0. We're not going to mess with that though because we don't need to. We've got our own computer to do that. You would tune it to that, or you would change the channel to whatever you want. If you want to talk to the tower, and for whatever reason the upfront controller wasn't working, say damage or a failure or something like that.
Okay.
What we need to do to make sure we specify that is we need to set set it off the backup and onto upfront controller. So you know where the fuel pumps are there, the one that we set to normal. Just on the left-hand side.
Yes.
Yep. Just down and to the right of that, there's one that says CNI, and it's currently set to backup. Switch that to UFC, upfront controller.
Roger, set.
And we'll come back to that in a moment. Now it's a good idea to turn on the HUD so you can see where you get all the information you need. So the symbol wheel on the top left corner, just click that a couple of times and get the brightness as desired.
Okay, seen.
Okay.
Done.
Now, if you look to your just below and to the right, you'll have your DED, which is a small display. Think of that as the monitor for the computer inside the plane. Okay.
So above the warning panel?
No. See from
no, you mean the one that shows INS?
Yes, that one.
Okay, so that little box is there is showing what?
That right now is showing your INS, your inertial navigation system alignment. We're basically waiting for that to change until it blinks ready. Now, what the marks out of 3 or 10 or 20 are is basically the alignment state of the INS, and older models take longer to line up than newer models. We're in a Block 52, so it should start flashing ready at about 4.0. Older models, like the one that I was flying last night, can go all the way up to 10 or even 20. Okay. So that takes even longer to align, obviously. I forget exactly what the numbers mean, but basically you want the right number, the number on the left to be really high, and the number on the right to be really low.
Roger that.
And it's I think it's just a measure of how accurate the INS is.
Okay.
Once that flash is ready, it'll say RDY for ready, but there'll be a point where it starts flashing ready.
Yep, it's flashing at me now. It's at 4.1.
Okay, great. So you're going to then go down to where that INS was that's set to normal and set it to nav. We're going to basically say that's a valid alignment. We're going to take that as good, and we're going to use it. Okay, and the INS has now figured out latitude and longitude from the GPS, and a few other things. Now, what we need to do next is using the MFD there. You'll see probably on the right hand side it says DTE.
Yep, click on that.
Click on that and click the load button. That's going to load the data cartridge that in real life hangs just behind the oxygen regulator. And basically you just threw the tape in there and hit the play button. And it's not that far removed from how it actually works.
Nice.
That's going to then take all your default settings for how you've configured your MFDs. You might have taken a standard. There might be a few things that don't make huge amounts of sense. One of them will probably say FCR off. Then you'll have something else for your HSD. This is a personal taste thing as to how exactly you configure your MFDs, so it's kind of out with the scope of what I'll go through with you at the moment. But suffice to say...
So what is the FCR? Is that fire control?
Fire control radar.
Okay.
So that's how you find things and kill them, either in the air or in the ground. We're going to give that some power now, so let's go to the FCR panel, just in the... so down near where your stick is there, you'll see 4 switches just below the stick. Left and right hardpoint, FCR and radar altimeter. We're going to throw on left and right hardpoint. Now, for the purposes of this mission, we don't actually need to, because as you might know with the F-16, there are 2 side sort of hardpoint places just on either side of the engine for a targeting pod or a harm sensor. We're going to throw them on anyway, because it's a habit to be in when you are carrying that stuff. And we're going to flip the switch for the FCR as well, which will warm up the FCR. Okay,
and the radar alt standby off, what is that? Is that we don't fire that up until we get in the air, potentially going to melt people on the floor?
Yeah, that's the radar altimeter.
Okay.
So the FCR and the radar altimeter pump out ridiculous amounts of radar radio waves, and at this distance it's as good as ionizing radiation. So what you would do is you'd have it in a standby position, which basically activates the circuits but doesn't run the radar, and it basically warms up the radar altimeter. Okay. Then the FCR is currently going through a whole bunch of tests. It's not actually going to start pointing things forward at the moment, and there is a sensor attached to the gears, to the landing gear, and basically once there's no more weight on the landing gear, the FCR will turn itself on. Basically, it's what's known as weight on wheels.
It's an interesting technique for the jet to figure out how it's to put the radar on or not.
Yeah.
So basically, as soon as the aircraft takes off of the runway, then it sets off the radar. It
turns the radar. It enables the radar.
Wow.
Absolutely. In fact, the weight on wheel sensor can also be used, so you can raise the landing gear on the engine. You could actually raise the landing gear right now, and it wouldn't do it until the weight was off the wheels.
Wow.
That is obviously a safety measure so that you don't, park the F-16 on its engine. But you get the idea with that. Next, you may have a panel on the MFD called Test.
Okay.
If you do, go ahead and press it, and you'll have a whole bunch of errors.
Okay. Clear them?
Clear them, yeah. Let's get rid of them. The problem with BMS is that we're running an F-16 simulator, and the F-16's IFF and ECM profiles are still actually classified. So the BMS philosophy is we're not going to model it unless we know how to model it. So the avionics package actually spits us a warning and goes, "Hey, the IFF's broken," and you just go, "Yeah, I know, that's fine. We don't want it
because we don't have one."
Because we don't have one.
So what is the IFF? What is that?
Identify friend and foe.
Basically, how our radar detects enemies. No.
In civilian aviation, you have aircrafts that have transponders on them, right?
Right.
And that's how the guys on the ground can tell one plane from another. Okay. IFF is that, but with a little military layer on top, which basically means that if you don't broadcast at a certain code, then you're not recognized.
Right. And obviously we don't want to disclose that because they could potentially figure out what code we are using for, say, if we turned our IFF off and the Russians are hunting us down, kind of thing.
Well, there's an element of that. There's also a fact that because how IFF works is still classified, the guys at BMS don't want to just make a simplified guesswork of it. They could code in a pseudo kind of IFF that might somewhat work, but they're not going to do that because they don't believe in that philosophy. They'd rather code it right or not code it at all.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. Now your radar will probably be in standby. So we're going to press the standby button and change that to CRM, which is the standard kind of screen that you'll see your radar working off of most of the time. I'll not get into
where's that button?
On the FCR itself, you'll see in the top left corner it'll say STDBY standby.
Is that one of my MFDs?
Yes, on your MFD for the FCR, sorry.
Okay, and it'll say MFDS?
You see the button, well, select the FCR on one panel or other.
Yep.
Call that page up and then change the standby to CRM. So press the standby button and then select CRM.
Yep.
Okay. That means your radar is going to work as intended once we take off. Lastly, but not leastly, we're not in a high threat environment today, so this isn't really something that we need to do today, but it's a good habit to be in. We're going to turn on the RWR and the chaff and flare programs because you're going to want to be able to dispense that stuff if we get hit. So just above the throttle, you'll have 4 buttons, one of which says power. It's just near the canopy lever. Press the power button and you've just basically turned on the RWR. It'll beep and yell at you a little bit in a few moments just to say, hey, I'm done testing. Just to the right of that, we have the countermeasures dispensers panel, which basically is responsible for handling all your countermeasures. So we're going to turn on the RWR, we're going to turn on the jammer, we're going to turn on the missile warning system. We're going to turn on
the jet.
If you flip that switch on and engage your chaff and flare dispense button, you will dump all your chaffs and flares.
In one go?
It jettisons them. Jettisons the dispensers.
Just gets rid of them.
In real life, this is in case of a flare or a fire caused by a flare detonating inside your plane. It's a good idea to get rid of the flares if they're burning next to your plane.
What about the program switch? What's that doing?
There are 4 programs that you can preset chaff and flare dispense profiles. You haven't set that up because I haven't shown you how to. So unless there's a default one nowadays, most of the time you have to set up your own. Once again, this is the subject to debate amongst a lot of sim pilots as to what is the best setup profile for that. That's kind of out with the scope of today. But basically, be aware that there are 4 potential programs you can select in flight that control how much chaff, how much flare, and at what intervals they are dumped at. Then we're going to we're going to change it to standby mode, and then turn it into manual mode, so that way we've got control over when we want to dump the chaffs and flares. The semi and the auto modes sound really helpful when they say we're going to dump chaff and flare for you, but you don't have a lot of chaff and flare in an F-16. You don't want to be letting the computer throw that out the window every time it detects a radar spike.
Roger.
That being said, the plane is as good as it's going to be for taking off and ready to roll. Let's try talking to the tower and getting your chocks away.
Okay, so T for tower?
Yep, T for tower, and then 8 for install remove chocks. And you'll see the button that says chocks and remove. Yep, that means we're tuned to the right frequency.
Next, I'm moving. Crap, why am I moving?
Hold down the K button for kilo, your wheel brakes need to be turned on.
Okay.
The thing is, just like last night, we are so light that even at idle power, the F-16 has enough thrust to push you around the taxiway.
Okay, so I'm pressing down K, but then I'm letting go and it's moving again. Do I need to put a parking brake on?
Yes, there's a parking brake just below the 3 green lights. It's a good idea to turn that on when and not ride the wheel brakes for too long. You'll damage them over the years. So now you can take your feet off the wheel brakes, and it would be a good idea for you to turn on your nose wheel steering if you.
Okay, how do I do that?
In the keyboard, it's right shift and the little slash or question mark key just next to it, and you'll know if it's working because on the right hand, just above that little DED display, it'll say AR NWS.
Which display?
So the DED is the little yellow display with, it'll say UHF 15, VHF 1 probably, STPT 1, the time, and a whole bunch of garbage at the bottom.
Cowboy 1-1. You're cleared for
Just above the right hand MFD.
Cowboy,
oh yeah, seen.
Okay. Just above that you have 3 lights. Between just above that you'll have 3 lights. They'll all be out probably. But if you press the shift and the question mark key, one of them will say AR NWS.
Seen.
That
I got it.
NWS is your nose wheel steering, and that means that your nose wheel steering is allowed to rotate, which means you'll be able to taxiway. So let's take the parking brake off and go out to the taxi and go out and pop on a little bit of throttle to get rolling, and let's get moving. We're going to make a right. I'm going to make a right-hand turn. Just follow in behind me, and I'll take you to the
Quick question: what do I use to steer my nose? Is that just the rudder pedals?
Rudder pedals is fine. So whatever you've got set up for rudder is totally fine with that. There is a setting in BMS called Enable Roll Linked NWS for people without rudder pedals or anything like that, which basically means that when you pull the stick right, the nose wheel steering turns on. Personal preference on that.
Best practice to keep the nose of the plane on the white line, presumably?
Yeah, see the yellow line, just follow that round, and it's going to keep you in the middle of the taxiway and stop you from basically drifting onto the mud or anything like that.
Roger.
Now, it's a good idea. It's just like your, I'm sure you were always taught your green cross code. I'm going to put the brakes on for a moment, look left and right, make sure nothing's coming, make sure nothing's trying to land in front of me or take off, and then we're going to join the runway. We're going to take off together, so I'm going to take the left side of the runway. In certain squadrons, you'll hear people saying lead's got the active left or lead's got the active right. That's the active runway, left or right side of the center line. So you can say you could say that you have the active right hand, and what you would do is you would just park up on the runway on the right side of the center line, around about my 4 or 5 o'clock position, and then just hold the brakes down. And when you're ready, just join the runway and try your best to stay on the right side of the center line. Wheel it round, straighten up, do your best to get yourself as straight on the runway as possible, and stomp on the brakes. There you go. So you're good.
Brakes run.
You're good and set. With the brakes held down. This might be a bit of a juggling act for you, so I understand. But with the brakes held down, you're going to run it up to, let's say, about 80%.
Okay.
Okay. On the count of 3, we're going to take the brakes off, and then 3 more seconds. We're going to punch the throttle full forward, including afterburner. A lot of things are going to happen very quickly after that. Once I call rotate, we're going to gently pull aft on the stick, and then we're going to turn, and then we're going to pull the gear, and then you're going to press the G key to bring your gear up. Okay?
Roger that.
Please do this as soon as you feel that the plane is stable in the air. Okay?
Okay.
Also, once you start rolling, if you can, turn off your nose wheel steering, because it doesn't like you do not want this thing does not have the cornering abilities of a Formula 1 car, and if you stomp on the rudder during your takeoff, you will likely fold the wing into the ground.
Roger that.
Okay.
So at what speed am I going to want to be taking my nose wheel steering off? That's shift and question mark.
Shifting question mark for you at the moment, and
Roger.
Anything above 60 knots is trippy. Anything above 100 knots is dangerous.
Roger that.
Okay. So on the count of 3, we're going to take off. 3, 2, 1. Brakes off. 1, 2, 3. Full power.
Cowboy 1-1. Is there a problem?
No.
Cowboy 1-2.
Nose wheel steering is off. If it looks like you're drifting left or right, you can make small corrections with the rudder. 180 knots, I'm going to rotate. And the gear's going up.
Cowboy 1-1. Resume on navigation.
Woohoo, I'm flying.
Cowboy 1-2. Miracle. Resume on navigation.
Not at all. Okay, and I'm going to come off the burner at 350 knots. That's usually a bit good in speed as any. And I'm using the pointing the flight path marker, I've got it about the 10-degree mark. Are you still with me there?
Oh yeah, I'm still with you. I'm just trying to keep with you.
That's okay.
There we go.
You're going to hear an annoying beeping tone. That's just me setting up the data link so I can see where you are in the on the HSD, the map, basically.
Roger, so I'm at your 7 right now.
7 o'clock. Scene and visual, good flying. So we're going to go to steer point 2. Can you remember how we did that from my live stream?
Ha! No.
Don't worry about it. That up front controller up the front, there's some up and down arrow keys in the bottom left corner of it.
Okay, give me a sec here. So, go to my control at the front, up and down arrow keys.
Just below the number 7.
Yep, seen.
Press the up button and you've just changed to steer point 2. You can tell because on your display, the top right corner, it says STPT2, and in your HUD in the bottom right corner, it says 02.
No, I've still got... trying to figure out where that 02 is.
Bottom right corner.
Yeah.
You'll see
it still says 01.
Okay, so press the steer point button one more time, please.
Okay.
Did it change?
No.
Okay. Tell me what you're seeing on your DED. Does it say UHF 15, STPT 1?
It says INS, and then it shows me all my longitude, latitudes, and stuff.
Ah, right. I forgot to tell you to do something. Press the return key on the upfront controller. It's just to the right of those buttons that I asked you to press.
Okay.
RTN. Right.
There we go. Yeah.
Now press that button that I told you to press.
There we go.
There we go. Now, we've actually gone past steer point 2, so we're going to press it one more time and change to steer point 3, and you'll notice there's a little kind of tadpole to the left of your flight path marker.
Yep, that's kind of our guider.
Yeah, that's kind of like saying, hey, over here.
Roger.
So,
what's your flight speed right now?
I'm flying at 273 knots and falling. I'm going to level the plane off at Angels 20,000 feet. Which I am just passing now.
I'm coming up at about 300 on your 7 again. I'm trying to close it down a bit here.
That's fine. Bear in mind that because we're in a left-hand turn, you're going to be on the inside corner, so you will actually be a little bit faster than me, perhaps. Okay. Just like a race car overtaking another one.
Roger, or running track.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're level at about Angels 20. I'm passing through 300 knots. I will try and hold that speed for you.
Roger.
And we're going to have in a short moment, we're going to have a turn for steer 4 now. I've probably not given us enough turn. This is a much harder turn, you'll notice. Now we can follow that turn or we can ignore it. Because we're fighter pilots and we're in a nice light plane, we can pull a real hard turn here. And really put this bird through its paces a little.
Where's my G rating?
Okay, so the top left corner will tell you how many Gs you're pulling right this second.
Roger.
It'll be like 1.3, 1.4, 2 point whatever.
Okay.
And then the bottom left. Yeah. Not at 2 Gs. Trust me, the pilot will do them for you when you start pulling 5 and 6 Gs.
Oh yeah.
You'll hear it. You'll see in the bottom left corner something that says nav. And just above that there'll be a number.
Yep.
That number is the maximum Gs that your plane has pulled so far.
Oh, interesting.
So that tells you what is your maximum G loading that you've put the plane through. This is actually a really useful number because if you're carrying a lot of heavy weapons and bombs, you probably can't. Your plane is not actually good for pulling more than say 4 or 5 Gs. And if you do, breakage is likely to ensue. So if you've been pulling ridiculous maneuvers on the way to the target area, you're dropping bombs, you're thinking, why the hell are these bastards not coming off the rail, or why are they not working? And you look at your G meter and you go, oh, I pulled 9 Gs with a weapon with a bird full of bombs. Then you probably understand. You probably go, right, I've probably broken something.
Now, do I have flaps or anything on right now?
The F-16 does have flaps, but the FLCS does it all for you.
Nice. So, in terms of navigation in the bottom right corner, I got B004.8. That's presumably my distance. The bottom one, the next one below, is the time to that next waypoint, and then what's after that? I got a 2 and then a 4.
So that means you're 2 miles from steer 4. B is precise distance.
Got it.
The nearest analogy I would call it is slant range, I guess, is basically from you directly to where the steer point is in space.
Okay.
Whereas
and it automatically has gone to the next one now then? Or?
No, it shouldn't, unless you've told it to.
No, it hasn't.
No, it doesn't.
How do I tell it to? Just press that button again?
Just press steer point. Just press the steer point number 5 again. Okay. You can actually set your steer points to automatically change, but for reasons that I listed in the live stream, it's not a good idea. Because, for example, if you are told to hold at steer 5, and steer 5 just suddenly disappears and selects steer number 6, it can be a real pain in the ass trying to keep it on steer 5.
Try and punch it here, catch you up a little bit.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm going quite fast, actually. I keep forgetting how light this plane is. Normally, I'm used to carrying lots and lots of ordnance on the side of these things, because I prefer my air-to-ground situations. So I'm just going to chop the throttle back a bit. I am notoriously bad for not calling my turns and not letting wingmen catch up with me, by the way. I'm a terrible flight lead for that sort of stuff, so feel free to yell at me for that.
What's my air brakes button?
The default key is B for Bravo, and you will hear a difference in the way the engine sounds and the wind force. And we're making a left turn for steer 6, by the way.
Roger.
To be honest, I can call the turns and tell you, but as a wingman, your major priority is just to go wherever your flight lead is.
Roger. I'm on your 7 now.
Fantastic.
I'm not sure if my brake is still on.
You will know because bottom left corner, just where that yellow canopy lever is, there's a button there's an indicator that says speed brake. It might be just out of your field of view. You might have to move things around. You'll see a range of dots if the air brake is open, and we're level at steer 6. Or you'll see it says closed. It's just above that 4-button switch that I told you to turn on the the RWR for.
It just says go.
A little bit further left.
Not seen. Nothing's there.
See the yellow cat? Go further outwards to the wing. There's a button that says stores config cat 1 cat 3. And then just about the 7 o'clock position from that, there's a label that says speed brake. Teeny little button that says closed, or probably 3 dots.
It's got 3 dots.
So your speed brakes are indeed open.
Okay, so how do I take them off again?
Press the B button again.
Okay, I pressed it, but I'm not sure again. Let me just check here.
Or press shift.
Oh yeah, it says closed. It says closed. Yeah,
it says closed now, yeah. So that's how you're going to do your thing there. We're going to take a left check for steer 7 now.
Roger, I've let my throttle down too much, so I'm dropping airspeed pretty quick here. I'm trying to catch up with you.
Just go ahead and throw the thing in full afterburn if you feel the need to catch up.
Okay, I need to go to steer. Which one are we going?
Steer 7. Yeah, please reference steer 7.
Okay, and you're at what's your altitude right now?
19,000. Now, you'll notice that if you've got the FCR on one of your MFDs, you'll see a little blue T sweeping left to right.
Yep.
That's your radar working. It's scanning left and right. The radar screen also has a sort of 2 lines and then some numbers. It'll probably say something like 32 and 09 or 32 and 10 or something like that.
Yeah.
That's the upper and lower limit that your radar can scan for the altitude that you have for the area that you've got selected. So it can find anything between Angel's 32,000 feet and Angel's 9,000 feet for my readout. And I see you just on my left wing there.
Roger.
That's fine. No, it's fine. I'll catch up to you. You just stay level.
Too busy doing other things instead of focusing
there's
on
a lot
direction.
There's a lot of juggling to do when you're getting used to this. That's why I'm really just focused on getting you flying at the moment than showing you a bajillion avionics.
Yeah,
I try to just drip feed things when we're first getting started with this sort of stuff. Because once we can get you to the point where flying is second nature, then I can throw extra stuff at you and say, well done, you know how to fly, now you can have to fight the plane and break all of the rules.
Roger.
So
now my throttle is doing some funky things because I'm putting my throttle at kind of... Well, my throttle's funky because that's kind of like a two-way throttle, so I get to the center of my throttle on my actual real-life throttle and it stops, and then you go into another motion on the throttle, if you know what I mean.
Ah, I see. So it's got like a catch area.
Yeah, so on the catch area, that is actually now my 100%. So if I try going full afterburner beyond that, I guess the rest of the joystick doesn't really do anything. I've not mapped that correctly, so.
Yeah, there is a button inside the game's controls to set the afterburner. So you basically put the afterburner into a place where you put the throttle into a place where you consider that to be maximum thrust, and then you hit set AB, and then if you push the throttle beyond that, then you start throwing in the afterburner. And good spot with the left turn for steer 8.
What is that static noise buzz I get here and then?
The beep every now and then.
Yeah.
That's the data link working. Basically, I turned on the data link so that every few moments I get a position update on my screen saying where you are, what your altitude is, and it basically allows the flight leads and you to see where we are in space together. You see the HSD has a little blue number 1 with a number below it. It's probably
what's the HSD again?
The HSD is your map.
Okay, yep.
See the little number 1 with a number next to it? I'll probably say 1, and then in really tiny writing below it, it'll say Angels. It'll say 24 or 25.
Negative.
You
didn't see that. Oh yeah, I see it. Yeah.
It's really hard to make out because it's quite a small display, but the number 1 is the number 1 position for the flight, and the height, the number is altitude in thousands of feet.
Okay.
So you now know that I am to your south, your west, and you are at Angels 2A. I am at Angels 2A as well, probably. I see you made your turn for steer 9. Good spot. And if you look out below your right wing, you will see the town and the airbase that you took off from, just to the right of that. You may have to...
have to roll a bit, eh?
You may have to roll a little, or look around a bit. Steer 9 is actually the airbase that we took off from.
Oh, it's to my left or to my right?
It should be It should be below you on your right wing. You may have to like full on rotate you around. Oh no, sorry, my mistake. It should be on your left wing. It was just a.
Roger, I was looking at on my right. I'm like, oh, there we go. I see what you mean now. There she is. Beautiful.
Yeah, the terrain for the age that it's at, it looks quite great.
Yeah, it does.
Now, while you're in your left-hand turn, just watch your altitude. See, you were at 25,000 feet, so that should just give you an idea of how easy it is to lose altitude when you're in a turn or when you're rolling.
Yeah. I was too busy admiring the airport and lost my altitude.
Yeah, that happens a lot. That happens a lot for people getting used to this. The flying becomes becomes a lot of fun. No.
So what are the two numbers? I've got 4.6 nav. So it was the last G that I pulled was 4.6. Then nav.
That's not the last G that you pulled. That's just the maximum Gs that you've pulled ever.
Roger. Okay, and then the two set of numbers beneath that, I got 088 and 134. What are they?
That is your position expressed in bullseye. Have you ever been told about how bullseye works?
Not really, no.
Okay, so bullseye is an arbitrary position on the map. Rather than me saying I am 5 miles north of your position, that means, or I say, hey, there's a bandit 7 o'clock, 20 miles away. If we were at two ends of the map, that makes no sense to you whatsoever. Okay. If I say enemies at bullseye 040140, then we know that from an established position that everyone on the blue force has agreed upon, that contact is bearing 040, 140 miles away.
Okay.
And it's basically just a common reference point that everyone agrees on, and we can all find each other. The bottom left corner there is your bullseye, 087142. So I can say, hey package, I'm deep in shit, I'm surrounded by MiGs, my position 087143, Angels 27, they all know right where I am.
Mm-hmm.
And they know where to point their aircraft because they know where they are, and they can all converge on my position if necessary.
Okay.
Or I can say, let's see. I'm just going to take a number here. About 15 miles in front of us, 083, 156. You know, it's a random space on the map for you, and that makes you know, you would say, well, why am I just saying 15 miles on the nose? Well, that's fine for us, but if there's another guy on the west end of the west end of Korea, 15 miles on the nose is a hell of a long way out the way.
Right.
And they're not going to be able. So it's just a simple way of navigating and pointing out where things are, so that everyone knows where that is.
Okay.
So that bullseye position is basically just a way of telling other people in game or in multiplayer or even yourself where you are relative to a bullseye that you're issued.
Okay, I've got a diamond on screen, green diamond on both my map on the bottom right and on my HUD. What is that? Is that an aircraft?
Green diamond in front of you?
Yeah, it's on my HUD, it's on my map. I'm flying towards it right now.
Okay.
If you look on, well, actually no, it's not. Actually,
it's in the bottom. It's in the bottom left corner with a cross through it.
No, it's in plain, like on my HUD. It's literally bang level with my level marker.
What's the steer point number that you've got selected? Is it 11?
It is 11 right now.
Look at the number. Look at the distance from here to steer 11.
A long way away.
It's not entered.
So it's not even there.
It's you're pointing the plane at 000 latitude and longitude.
Roger.
You are literally pointing your plane at the North Pole right now. Don't worry about it. We're going to go back to steer 9.
Okay.
So instead of pressing up, you're going to press down, and you're going to press it twice. And seeing as how you know where you're going, I'm going to have you guide me back. Tell me how far away we are from steer 9.
We are right now 26 miles.
Yeah, that sounds close enough. I'm 29 and I'm only a few miles further away from you. So yeah, I'll take that as good. So I'm going to talk to the tower because we're less than 30 miles away from the tower, and that's the point where you're allowed to talk to the ATC. And I'm going to request vectors.
Cowboy 1-1, inbound for landing.
And now we're going to ignore all the steer points.
Descend to 5,000, maintain 300 knots.
You're going to listen for your orders. I'm going to listen for mine.
1, runway 08.
So remember, you're Cowboy 1-2. So you were told 5,000 feet and 300 knots.
Descend to 4,000, maintain 300 knots. Turn left heading 210.
And this is kind of the game as Simon says, because I'm Cowboy 1-1, you're Cowboy 1-2. You've got to listen for the right orders.
Roger. So I've got to descend 5,000 feet, drop speed to 300 knots.
That's right. But they haven't given you any heading, so you just continue on as good.
Okay.
And basically what the ATC is going to do...
Cowboy 1-2, orbit for spacing 5,000.
So it just wants you... Orbit for spacing, it wants you to turn around in a circle. Just do donuts in the air. Keep your speed around 300 and about 5,000 feet. And just see how wide you have to turn to keep that altitude and that speed.
Roger.
So you just practice turning level at 4,000 feet, 5,000 feet rather. But think about...
drop down to that altitude.
Yeah, you are.
Pretty quick here.
But what you'll notice is that as you dive, look at your airspeed. Yeah,
it's going to increase substantially.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm getting a master caution, probably diving too fast. Maybe.
What's your speed?
474.
Okay.
I've got a warning sign now, avionics fault.
Yeah. What's your max G pegged at?
Max G was at 4.6.
Yeah. One thing to bear in mind, we're carrying 2 fuel tanks under the wings, so 4 or 5 Gs is a good place to go.
Okay.
Don't worry about it because you're going to get warnings, but your plane will still fly.
Cowboy 1-2, orbit for spacing 5,000.
Good idea when you're diving that steep as well is just to pull the throttle all the way back to idle.
Altitude.
Roger.
Don't give yourself more thrust into the ground. The F-16's
No,
got
I was at
plenty.
idle already.
Okay, cool.
I was at idle, but I was still picking up too much, I guess.
Yeah.
I put my air brake on to try and drop it down.
Orbit for spacing 4,000.
Right, so it wants me to orbit for spacing at 4,000 feet.
So he's basically putting me into a holding pattern.
Yep, he's holding us both.
Landed.
He's holding. Well, not necessarily. He's going to give us both guidance, but he's asked me to orbit for spacing as well. Possibly just because we're too close together.
Roger.
So I'm going to turn away. And it might also just be that we're way too far away from 4,000 and 5,000 feet respectively. So it's just going to they're just going to have us orbit in an area until we get to where we're supposed to be in the space. Because the ATC is basically asking you to follow these instructions so that they can guide you exactly to where is going to give you a perfect approach for the runway. Now, if you're low on fuel or anything like that, you can ignore that completely and request autonomous vectors, but the ATC won't help you at all. It won't tell you where to fly. You just have to figure it all out yourself.
Right.
Which we're not going to do. Not at this stage.
Okay, so I'm at 5,000 roughly, about 315 just orbiting.
Yep. Orbit for spacing 4,000.
About the same, so we're probably going to start getting given orders very shortly.
I need track IR so badly right now.
Once you start flying, you really see the reason why you need track IR. It is so much more helpful. I spent so long flying without it, and I was like, no, I'll get through it. I'll be fine. And as soon as I got it, I was like, man, I was a fucking moron. It's like, yeah.
Cowboy 1-2. Orbit for spacing 5,000. Cowboy 1-1. Orbit for spacing 4,000.
I am.
So am I. Like, let us land already. I need to piss.
You not bring your pedal bag?
No, I left the piddle bag and my poop bag.
You're a poorly equipped fighter pilot.
I know. And I forgot my Mars bars. Can't go into combat or flying without Mars bars.
To be perfectly fair, it's more like chocolate soup by the time it's been in your leg that long.
Yeah.
It's like the old it's like the old Vietnam era pilots. They didn't really think to bring nobody thought back then that it'd be a good idea to let the pilots carry a water bottle. So they would literally bring, I'm not kidding you, baby bottles.
Really?
And just fill them full of water.
So what's normally happening when they're taking this long to allow us to land? What's the AI doing?
What the AI is doing, or trying to do, is they're trying to get us to space it, to separate out. They're trying to get us to wait for other aircraft in the area to land or take off. Except I happen to know that we're the only two people in the entire continent of Korea, because that's how I set it up. We are literally all alone. It's you, me, and the ATC. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to instead request an autonomous approach, and it's going to stop talking to me. And we're just going to fly some headings. There you go.
Descend to 4,000. Maintain 250 knots. Turn left heading 205. Runway 08.
So basically, it was kind of having a bit of a dirt moment where it wasn't sure who to give commands to first. And I kind of settled that by saying, it's okay, I'll do it all by myself. You just give Matsimus help.
Cowboy 1-1. Orbit for spacing 4,000.
Or it's going to continue to give me orders and ignore me. That's nice.
Okay, so it told me to turn to 240, drop altitude to... I forgot what he said. Can I get him to repeat it?
He will in a few minutes if you haven't done it.
Okay.
But I think it was 4,000 feet.
Yeah, I'm at 2,000 and way too fast.
Cowboy 1-2. Maintain 260 knots. Turn left heading 230. Vectors to right base. Runway 08.
So turn left for 230 knots, keep 260 knots, turn left for heading 230, and he's informing you he's going to set you up to land on runway 08.
Cowboy 1-1. Descend to 4,000. Maintain 250 knots. Turn right heading 295. Runway 08. Cowboy 1-1, maintain 260 knots, turn right heading 300.
So it's finally started to catch up and give us the informative calls we need.
Cowboy 1-2, maintain 250 knots, turn left heading 220.
Okay, it says maintain 250 knots and turn left heading 220.
Yep.
Okay.
Do what it says on the tin.
So is he just giving us our own...
Cowboy 1-2,
He's given us both our own patterns and our own approaches.
Roger.
Cowboy 1-1, descend to 4,000, maintain 300 knots, turn right heading 325.
And if you don't do what you're supposed to do, they'll give you fresh orders, basically.
Okay.
And if you just choose to ignore them, then you're never coming down without doing it all by yourself.
Cowboy 1-2, descend to 2,000, maintain 230 knots, turn right heading 355, vectors to final, runway 08.
So get yourself down to 2,000 feet. Keep it at 230 knots. Now, at 230 knots, I would, as long as you can stay below 230 knots, put the gear down.
Roger.
Because you'll feel that the plane is getting a little tricky to handle at that kind of speed.
He said
Cowboy
340,
1-1,
right?
maintain 300 knots, turn right heading 350.
I'm at
Cowboy 1-2, maintain 230 knots, turn right heading 025.
025. So it's going to give you updates based on where you are now. So even if you don't,
Roger.
even if you don't get it right the first time, they'll update it and give you the right orders.
Cowboy 1-2, abort landing, vector 035, contact approach when able.
So it's a missed approach. They're telling you turn 035 and then once you're able to, go ahead and talk to the tower and ask for vectors again.
Okay.
So for whatever reason...
It's hard in this low ground.
Yeah.
There's and stuff going on.
Cowboy 1-1, abort landing, vector 360, contact approach for resequencing.
Oh, piss off.
I'm a noob, you've got no excuse.
It's not that I've done anything wrong, it's just they've decided that because of whatever, for whatever reason, the ATC has just decided, no, none of these approaches look good. You're not doing what you're told. Sod off and try it again. So, which is exactly what we're going to do.
1-1, inbound for landing. Cowboy 1-1, climb to 4,000, maintain 270 knots, turn right heading 160, runway 08.
Okay. So, I'm going to do that. If you can see the runway and you're happy to try landing, go for it. All that's going to happen is some virtual AI ATC is going to yell at you a little bit.
I can see the runway, but I'm going past it right now. So
Aha, right.
Cowboy 1-1, turn right heading 180.
So should I contact the tower now?
Yeah, go ahead. Talk to the tower and call inbound for landing.
Cowboy 1-2, inbound for landing. Cowboy 1-2, climb to 5,000, maintain 300 knots, turn right heading 050.
There you go.
Cowboy 1-2, descend to 4,000, maintain 250 knots, turn right heading 190, runway 08. Cowboy 1-2, maintain 250 knots, turn left heading 240, vectors to left base, runway 08.
Follow the
You just
240.
told me to go
Yep.
19.
Yep.
Descend to
Go back
4,000,
to 240, it's fine.
300 knots, turn right heading 265, vectors to right base, runway 08.
What will sometimes happen is if the AI thinks that you've just only missed a waypoint, it'll try and give you a correction, and then it'll go, I saw it, no, it's close enough. Just do the last thing. So when in doubt, just follow the most recent commands you've been given.
Roger.
Fortunately, I gave us plenty of fuel for this. Because following the ATC directives, A when new and B when they're retards, can make it quite a bit interesting.
Cowboy 1-1, turn right heading 280. Cowboy 1-1, descend to 3,000, maintain 300 knots, turn right heading 280. Cowboy 1-2, turn left heading 230.
You want me to descend while I'm in the mountains? You do that. Okay, cool.
Cowboy 1-2, descend to 2,000, maintain 250 knots, turn left heading 170, vectors to final, runway 08. Cowboy 1-1, maintain 300 knots, turn right heading 360, vectors to final, runway 08. Cowboy 1-2, maintain 240 knots. Cowboy 1-1, maintain 300 knots, turn right heading 005. Cowboy 1-2, turn left to final approach course 080, slow to approach speed.
There you are.
Sweet.
The runway should be right in front of you. Well, when you finish your turn it is, anyway.
Beautiful.
Cowboy 1-1, turn right final approach course 080, slow to approach speed.
Okay, so my approach speed should be what?
I don't really have a speed to give you. Get the plane below 230 knots. Put the gear down.
Okay.
And you'll remember when I did the live stream what the balancing act was, right?
Fortunately, I didn't get that far into the video.
Okay, right. So now that the gears come down, you'll see some new things that come up on your HUD. You'll see a dashed line.
Yep.
You'll see a little bracket. Okay, and the objective of this little mini game is to have the flight path marker on the runway, somewhere within that ladder.
1-1, go around, vector 025, contact approach when able or divert to your alternate.
Okay.
Good morning, Cowboy 1-2, clear for landing, runway 08.
Warning, 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 warning.
Okay, I'm going to need some serious concentration here to get this right.
So this is something that it just requires a lot of practice, but basically you want to put your flight path marker at the bottom of the runway, and you want to do that first with pitch. Then after that it's all about just controlling power.
Okay.
And you just keep basically you're just going to keep the flight path marker in between those two ladders, inside that ladder, while keeping it also pointed on the runway. And it's just going to be a case of adjusting pitch and power until you get a good balancing act that you're happy with.
I'm down. I'm down.
And nothing exploded.
Nothing yet.
Okay, great.
And
now
then just
cut the
steady
throttle.
braking.
Cut the throttle. No, the F-16 has ABS. You can just stomp on the brakes. It's fine.
Okay.
Once you get to below 60 knots, go ahead and turn on your nose wheel steering and get clear of the taxiway.
Roger that. Shibby, that was fun.
And then I will have a bit of fun with you here. So just at the top of the runway there, right?
Roger.
Okay. And if you look directly in front of you.
Yep.
Pull up.
I'm on the taxi right now.
Pull up.
Yeah, I know.
Pull up. Pull up. Pull
I
up.
see
Pull
you.
up. Pull up. Chaff. Flare.
Damn. That looked cool. There's a flare burning up in front of me.
Yep, and then if you look at me, you'll see the wing vapor trails running off the wings.
I'm not seeing just yet.
That's just alright. Sorry, I just pulled 8.7 Gs with wing bags on the plane.
Jeez.
It's alright. Never needed them anyway.
Chaff, flare. Pull up, 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 pull up.
I just saw you go past again.
Yeah.
Chaff, flare.
This is me just having a bit of fun now. Cutting loose with the plane.
And I am parked up at the stall. Now I'm going to shut her down.
Excellent.
Pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up.
Now, where's that air tower control? Fun fact about the F-16. Even if it doesn't carry any weapons, it still carries a 20mm cannon.
Oh god.
And I have had it up to here with dumbass air traffic controllers. Can you see the tower?
I can, but I've turned my power off. Hold on a second, I'm about to crash. There we go. Quickly, turn parking brake on. There we go. Air traffic control, let me see. Or has Roger seen that?
Okay. Because it's just not a combat flight simulator without a bit of combat.
It's really the worst day this air traffic control's ever had.
Pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up.
I just emptied
it into a giant pile of cigarette ash.
Well, when you empty an entire barrel load of 20 mic into the tower, I'm amazed there's anything left, to be honest. All right, ATC. Can I get clearance now? Enjoy the mushroom cloud.
That's awesome. How come when I take my power off, it turns the parking brake off?
Because you're supposed to have the wheel chocks in place for that.
Ah, that's why. Got ya. And how do I spool my engines completely off?
Alt-I for the idle detent switch. Basically, you're just pulling it back below. Basically, in the real F-16, there is actually a cut-off lever that prevents you from literally accidentally pulling the throttle all the way off.
There we go. I have my first successful flight in an F-16 in BMS.
You're very welcome.
Yeah. Wasn't too bad, yeah. Thank you very much, my friend. With a blown-up control tower in the background.
Hey, it's not a combat mission without a few explosions.
That is true.
And I consider stupid AIs acceptable losses.
Cowboy, 1-1. Next time, wait your turn.
Wow, I'm impressed he was able to talk to me there.
That's
it.
Awesome.
That's it. My ass is haunted. That's what it is.
He's coming for you now, the air traffic control. Wait a minute. He's talking to you from heaven.
It's like, next time, wait your turn.
Oh, that's cool. My rear ailerons have just dropped to the floor.
Yes, because you no longer have power, so your hydraulic pumps don't work anymore.
They've just given up. Nice.
Yep. The F-16 without power is worse than useless. It is dead. That's why there are two different flight controller systems. There's an A and a B, and there's the digital backup unit. Because if you lose electrical power to any of your all of your flight systems, you literally have no command authority over the F-16. Literally none. There is no physical linkages or servos or hydraulics connected from the stick to the back of the plane. Everything is electrically done. So when the F-16 was first designed, a lot and I mean a lot of pilots, were very nervous about flying the F-16 in the event of a major failure, because they were convinced that obviously the plane was just going to end up in the ground, and their only option was going to be to eject. As it turns out, the safety of having a triple redundant backup system, electronically speaking, has proven to be quite actually well served, and in most situations, the only way that a plane has been completely lost hasn't been the result of a failure. It's been the result of like either a pilot error or combat injury.
Okay.
To the best of my knowledge, anyway.
Awesome. Well, that was a lot of fun, my friend. Thank you very much for doing that.
I'm quite happy to help. I'm just glad you enjoyed the trip as well.
Oh yeah, I can actually get it up in the sky now. I just got to remember all the key combinations and such. But
well, like I said earlier, remembering the key combinations is one thing. You're probably looking at a whole bunch of buttons that you could have pressed off your joystick, and you're wondering why we didn't use them. So there are certain buttons you will press often, or you will want to have to hand easily. Your nose wheel steering is one of them, I would say, because your nose, as with all things in the F-16, your nose wheel steering button doesn't just work for your nose wheel. It also disconnects the hose when you're refueling, and it also lets you cycle through different profiles and different weapon systems in the plane when you're in flight.
Okay.
The throttle and stick in the F-16 is designed so that you do not have to. You can keep your hands on the throttle and stick the whole time. That's what HOTAS stands for.
Okay.
So
nice.
It's a really, really clever, really, really nice system. And if you can get a joystick with enough buttons, or if you can be very clever with how you assign the buttons, you can almost fly the whole aircraft without actually needing to take your hands off it.
Okay.
What you will find, because you don't have enough buttons, is that you will find yourself still doing a bit of a hand-eye coordination juggle. I have an X-52, and the way I have it set up means I still have a bit of a hands-on juggle. I have a bit of a juggle between the keyboard, the mouse, the throttle and stick, and I actually have a little USB kind of PlayStation-esque controller which I use for a few other things as well that I don't touch very often. So the more peripherals you can attach to your computer for this, the easier your life will be. But then you'll have to remember to bind all that. So that's why I started off with nice and simple for you. Just get the plane in the air and get it around the air, because once you're comfortable with that, you can then add in your own profiles for the way you like to fly.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, buddy. Well, I'm going to go and get some sleep now, because it's been a very long day / evening. So
of course,
thank you very much once again for giving me some teaching education for the old BMS world, and hopefully I'll be able to get in some combat pretty soon here. I'm in the grass now.
It's okay, don't worry. I just killed the server anyway. Go ahead and press escape and E for end mission, assuming your game doesn't crash, because I just stopped the server.
Okay, sounds good.